This is WWHM Here. When you open up, this is the screen that you get. And so you'll probably find, if you're a 2012 user, pretty familiar, right? We've got the map on the left. All the icons have just been updated and refurbished for a nicer, more user-friendly look at this point. But we have all the same options that we have available before. As you can see, we open WWHM, WDM files just like that, just like what we were doing in 2012. So that's what makes the integration really simple there and really easy. And so if we're going to start a project from scratch, let's say you just opened it up, you're like, okay, how do I get started running this thing? I want to start building some stuff here. Well, just like any other software that you're familiar with WWHM 2012, you're going to select your project site. And so I'm going to actually model something for you here. So here's our project site, selects the rain gauge, precip factor, right? You're pretty familiar with all that at this point. The map controls are the same. Here's the new schematic. So let's go to the new schematic. You can click scenario. Here's the pre-developed schematic here. And so you can see that we have all of our elements here. Now, if you're not interested in a particular set of elements for your project or so on, you can go show swim, show HSPF, or show none of them at all. So if you're just building a swim model, you're like, I don't want to see the HSPF elements. Well, there you go. Or if you're just building a 2012 model, I don't want to see the swim elements. Well, you can do that as well. But they're all compacted over here, or you can make them larger there. But for our pre-developed scenario, here's what we're going to do. We're going to build a 2012 style project here just to show you how easy it is. So I'm going to add my land use basin, right? We went to the map, we selected our CTAC gauge, so we're good to go there. Here's our basin, and what I like to do is I just like to make the elements a little bigger. There's so many options when it comes to modifying your interface and making it work the way you want you to. And we're preparing a WWHM training course to show you how to do absolutely all of that. So there will be training available for this as well. But all I did was just make the element bigger. So we have our land use basin here. We see all of our same land use categories that we see in 2012. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put in 4 acres of C4 as flat. Right click, connect to point of compliance. As you can see, same sort of process there. The run button's located over here. As you can see, obviously we have some additional run factors here, or run options here, I should say, because Swim has quite a few different run options that are available, and you can look at that in run configuration. You can show the HSPF, show the swim options here. And so you'll probably recognize this screen if you've ever used EPA swim. You can choose the routing model, the infiltration model. All that's available here. We were able to integrate all of that from EPA swim. It's like you won't even need it anymore, essentially, because all the options are here. But for just a WWHM 2012 HSPF element run, we don't need to mess with that, right? So we're just going to run the pre-developed scenario here. That'll generate the runoff. And then we'll go to our mitigate scenario. We'll put in our basin. Let's say we've got one of sea lawn flat, or let's go 3 of roads flat. So we got 3 acres of impervious. Connected POC. Let's run that. Then we'll see how that's performing. We'll take a look at the flow duration standard, and then we will evaluate the different options that we have, which are a lot, for our mitigation method for this particular situation here. So here's the new analysis tab over here, all the way on the left, but same familiar screen, POC1. So as you can see, the facility fails, right? It would do the same thing in 2012. Just wanted to show you what the new analysis tab is looking like. It has all the same features here. So let's talk about some of the mitigation measures that we could put in here. Well, we have the detention pond, we have a vault, we have the tank, so we have the same traditional ones here. I do have the commercial elements activated as well. We could use one of those. There's options for bioretention here. This is not a course on modeling bioretention, but that could be used and can be easily used in the software, just like 2012 it can. And so something I might do is let's put in the stormwater vault here. We'll connect the elements. I'll go quick vault, and then something I might do is run auto vault, which auto vault, it's just, if you're not familiar with the auto sizing features, it just automatically sizes your facility to meet that flow duration standard. And so you just move that all the way to the right here. You go create vault. This is not a course on like modeling vaults or anything like that, but just wanted to give you an idea here. So you can model that vault, and then it would meet the flow duration standard. For the sake of time, I'm not gonna do that because we don't need to watch auto vault run for 10 minutes. This is about WWHM-SWM. So all I did was hit quick vault. It'll run. I'll show you what it does to the flow duration standard, and then we can see what additional measures we can implement, or just some of the other features that we want to look at here. So if we look at point of compliance 1, it's going to perform better, but it's likely not going to pass. Yeah, so perform better. Doesn't quite pass. The outlet structure needs to be modified, etc. But we just wanted to show you that the same automatic vault features are here. If you had a pond, you could set the pond up here, and then you can auto size that as well. So same thing. You can set up the same LID features that you have. So let's add the bioretention element here, and you just left click and drag to add an element to the modeling space here. And now we have our bioretention. Get quick swale, connect to point of compliance, run that for water quality, water quantity, right? If you're real interested in bioretention modeling, we have a course called the Bioretention Masterclass, and it's just a course that gives you a real in-depth look on modeling all sorts of bioretention scenarios. And so that's just on our website, www.clearcreeksolutions.info. That's also where you can find more info on WWHM-SWM, obviously, which I'm going to link in the chat here right now. You can follow that one right there. And then if you go to our courses, you go to Bioretention Masterclass, you can learn more about modeling bioretention facilities. But anyways, so you can do the same LID modeling features as before. You can set up multiple basins. So the project's still running here. So so we could add more basins. I'll show you some of the features that we have there. WWHM-SWM is especially powerful when it comes to running large projects. So, oh, you know what I just realized here? I should have used simple bioretention. That would have made for a much faster run here. I'm gonna cancel my run real quick here. There we go. Anyways, yeah. So WWHM-SWM is very useful with large projects. So if I go left click here, the basin, I hit control. I can add a whole bunch of elements to the modeling space here, modify them. We have a map query selection here, which lets me select and move and search and move between a bunch of different elements at once. It's very useful. Let me add the vault back in here. So yeah, so if you wanted a bunch of different basin elements, you wanted to assign them land use area, very easy to do. Zooming in and out on your project, very simple, very intuitive user interface, and that was sort of our intention there. So now let's talk about the second half of this whole WWHM-SWM idea, right? So we have the swim elements. So we got that same project here. Something you might do in EPA swim is, okay, well, I don't use basins. I use the subcatchment element. You can see it's highlighted red there because we're using land use basins, and so we can't implement, or we can't integrate basin land use with subcatchment land use. That's not really how it works. So if we want to set up a different project here, let me remove these elements. So if we want to set up something else here, we could add a subcatchment, and so you can modify that, change the area just as you would in something like EPA swim, and then you have all the same properties here. So you have the rain gauge. So we don't have a rain gauge yet, but you can add a rain gauge too. So here's our rain gauge, import a data file there. I guess I should also talk about, we have many import features here. So you can import your own project, import GIS elements here. And so we have a SWM GIS import function here. That's where I'm able to, you can import a shapefile, text file, that land XML file that I talked about. You can import that right there with the appropriate data. The file just needs to be formatted correctly, which there is a bit of criteria for that. If you have more questions about that, we can go into how to properly format those different files for input, just so it works in the software. But there's a lot of options when it comes to importing your data from previous projects or previous SWM projects and getting it to work. So that's one option. And importing WWHM data is really easy, as well as just simply loading up a WWHM 2012 project, which is very easy to do. And even WMSWM is backwards compatible with things outside of WWHM 2012, the SDHM, BAM, all of our different continuous simulation modeling packages. As long as you have the correct map data imported, you're able to do all that. Anyways, I was talking about swim modeling here. So here's our subcatchment. We've got our rain gauge light, a pretty typical SWM project setup here. And then we could also, of course, we can put that in the mitigated scenario as well. But here's our different SWM elements here. And so if you have a SWM only project, you can input our different junction elements and set those up in the appropriate way. And maybe we had 4 junctions going to an outfall. Maybe that's our project setup here. And so you can modify all those different things that you're able to do in EPA SWM, the invert elevation, max depth. We're able to keep track of all those different elements here through the links. We can view C1, C2, C3. You can also go here. One of these other ones, we're able to also view, element here. Go to the SWM editor. In the SWM editor, we can view all of our different SWM elements that are included, the names, and then their different parameters here, and we can quickly modify them. I found that to be very useful. So that's all the subcatchments. We can view all the junctions here, view all the outfalls here, and then view some of the various conduits that we have included. We can take a look at all of them, view them in this way, and then are able to modify them as we see fit here. So these are all of our various SWM elements. Obviously, some SWM projects, they're going to have tons of elements, right? Because we're going to have tons of connections. Just depends on the size and the sheer size and scope of your project, I should say. So I'll remove those real quick. But you can set up any SWM project that you so desire with the elements. And then what's the part that we're most interested in is probably the integration. So I'll show you an example where we can then integrate all these things together. So let me remove these elements here.